Pawn shop owners, what was the most illegal thing a customer had brought to your shop? Employee not owner. A guy brought in a stack of like 15 laptops that all said property of city public school right on the top of each one. He then threatened to shoot me when I told him to get out. Edit. Because it's been brought up multiple times. Yes, I am aware that schools, businesses, etc. sometimes sell off old laptops, which is why I don't flat out call the cops whenever somebody brings in a suspected stolen item. There's always the chance that no matter how obviously stolen it is, the person owns it legit. However, I'm not going to risk my job or my conscience by taking in an item if it has a label on it claiming it's somebody else's property. Also, how am I supposed to sell a laptop that says property of city public schools on it? Pawn shops have a bad enough rap as it is. What's the proper protocol for a situation like this? Call the cops? Boot the guy? A guy literally brought in an RPG. He was doing yard work for this old lady whose husband had passed. She gave it to him for doing some yard work, not realizing it was live and active. The guy was career military, and after the bomb squad came and disabled it, they went to her house and found a trove of similarly very illegal military grade weapons. Not that I'd want anyone to get hurt, but a little old lady in a violent standoff with police would seriously break the tension. Not an owner, but I got a call from a pawn shop saying that one of my at-home employees tried to sell her work computer. It has my company's logo and contact info right on it, plain as day. How stupid can some people be? I knew someone once who was into some bad stuff. He didn't have his school provided laptop at class one day, and never again after that. As it turns out, it was his, for these laptops were indeed our own personal property, even though the school gave them to us. But the thing is, what they meant by giving each student a nice free laptop was overcharging that for ×2 and building it into the price of tuition and, therefore, the student loan. So, I had that computer for a while. He sold his to a pawn store. And X200B. How many college students do you know would refuse a new MacBook Pro back in 2010 that they wouldn't have to pay for until they began paying back their student's loan? So I'm not an owner and I wouldn't call this illegal per se, but I feel like I have to share this. A friend of mine owns a pawn shop, and one day a dude walks in with a cardboard box filled to the top with his own S. He claims that it's magic, and my friend cuts him off right there and kicks him out. As he is walking out, he drops the box on accident, gets all of his S on the floor, sees the mess he's made, stares at the horrid pile of S for a couple of seconds, and runs out of the shop. My friend never got his name, and never saw him again. The smell would proceed to linger in the shop for a good month after it was cleaned up. Edit. Typo. When you wrote S, I presumed you meant stuff, and it was further into the story that my understanding changed. I would like to go back a few minutes, and not keep reading. Not an owner but an employee. A man brought in a bag of cocaine and said if I would buy it then resell it back to him in a couple of days. Mind if I call in a buddy? He's an expert in cocaine. Buddy of mine worked at a pawn shop for a few years. They had a guy try to sell them a police walkie-talkie, like straight stolen from a car but with a battery taken out. They told him to get FE'd and called the cops. I believe they picked the guy up a few hours later. How is that possible if the guy could hear their every communication? Lies. Just a worker here, but we had a couple come in to pawn their backhoe over the weekend. Happens a lot, and brought their bill of sale. They wanted a simple $1K loan, which wasn't bad considering how much it was worth. No more than 30 minutes later, cops are there with the owner. Apparently they worked for him and went and pawned all of his industrial equipment. How did that go? You had to return it, I assume. Did you get your 1K back from the thief? A friend of mine owns a rather unique store. Not a pawn shop, but he sells a lot of authentic medieval weaponry, armor, clothing and similar. While I was there, a young couple decided his shop was the place to sell a few old SS daggers, belts, flags and other Nazi memorabilia. Solid logic. Except for one thing. We are in Germany. Here the state kind of frowns upon owning or selling this kind of stuff. They could have donated it to any museum and would have had no issue with the law whatsoever. I mean, It was not their fault they found it, right? But they figured that if Grandpa was a Nazi, he could at least help with the funds for the renovations and decided cash was better than being named in a museum leaflet. My friend was mostly insulted by the idea that just because he owns a medieval store and sells historic weapons, he must know a Nazi collector that would pay cash, but that was the end of it. He told them to get out and donate it, or if they insist on selling it, to ship it to the US. More money from history buffs, or at least not one happy little German Nazi with a new happy stabby toy. I never thought about how Germany treats stuff like that. That's very interesting. Thanks for watching and remember to subscribe for more Reddit videos.